Good day, students! Let us learn about relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are words used to connect a clause or phrase to a noun or pronoun. The clause modifies or describes the noun or pronoun. This clause is known as adjective clause. To put it simply, relative pronouns introduce adjective clauses. Here is the list of relative pronouns that we use. Here are examples of sentences with relative pronouns and adjective clauses. Online games, which many of us play, can be difficult sometimes. The adjective clause in this sentence is which many of us play. The relative pronoun used is which. The clause describes the noun games. Another example. This is the movie that the class is talking about. The adjective clause is that the class is talking about. The relative pronoun used is that. The adjective clause modifies the noun movie. She delivered the package to the person whom her mother told her so. The adjective clause in this sentence is whom her mother told her so. The relative pronoun is whom. The adjective clause modifies the noun person. I have a friend whose style in fashion is very weird. The adjective clause in this sentence is whose style in fashion is very weird. The relative pronoun used is whose. The adjective clause modifies the noun friend. When relative pronouns are used to add information, that information is either defining or non-defining. Also called restrictive clause, the defining relative clause gives essential information about the noun in question. It is so important that it cannot be cut out of the sentence and still convey the intended meaning. For example, this is the dog that was hit by a car. The adjective clause or relative clause in this sentence is that was hit by a car. The relative pronoun used is that. This clause modifies the noun dog. Let's have another example. I don't like people who interrupt me. In this sentence, the relative clause is who interrupts me. The relative pronoun is who. This clause modifies the word people, which is a noun. The relative or adjective clauses contain very important information that if you remove the clause from the sentence will have a different meaning. For example, saying, I don't like people is very different from saying, I don't like people who interrupt me. So, the clause who interrupt me is a defining relative clause. The non-defining relative clause adds information that is nice to have but isn't essential to the sentence's overall meaning. For example, this painting, which I adore, is worth over $1 million. The relative clause in this sentence is which I adore. The relative pronoun that is used to introduce the clause is which. This clause describes the noun painting. My friend John, who went to the same school as me, has just written a novel. In this sentence, the relative clause or adjective clause is who went to the same school as me. The relative pronoun used is who. The clause modifies the noun John. Even without these relative clauses, the sentence doesn't lose its overall meaning. The non-defining relative clauses are just additional information. It is also easy to identify the non-defining relative clauses because of the use of commas. Let us now answer this activity. Identify the correct relative pronoun to be used in each sentence. The computer blank I bought last week is already broken. Answer: which. The computer which I bought last week is already broken. That is the place blank Max works. Answer: where. That is the place where Max works. I really enjoyed the time blank we went to that Chinese restaurant. Answer: when. I really enjoyed the time when we went to that Chinese restaurant. Kurt Vonnegut, blank was one of America's best writers, was also a very good painter. Answer: who. Kurt Vonnegut, who was one of America's best writers, was also a very good painter. The boy, blank dog chased the cat, has gone home. Answer: whose. The boy whose dog chased the cat has gone home. Underline the relative clause or adjective clause. Then, write whether it is defining or non-defining. Number 1. I like the clock that chimes the hour. The relative clause in this sentence is that chimes the hour. It is a defining clause. Number 2. John met a woman who I had been in school with. The relative clause or adjective clause is who I had been in school with, and it is a defining relative clause. Number 3. My boss, who is very nice, lives in Manchester. The relative clause is who is very nice, and it is a non-defining relative clause. Number 4. The house which belongs to Julie is in London. The relative clause in this sentence is which belongs to Julie, and it is a defining relative clause. Number 5. My mother's house, which I grew up in, is very small. The relative clause in this sentence is which I grew up in, and it is a non-defining relative clause. If we know how to use relative pronouns and how they work in a sentence, we will be able to add important information to our statements in the form of relative clauses.